G'day guys, welcome to another layout. Now this was probably my first layout that I have done since getting my job and trying to find my scrappy time, and it was a pretty chaotic week, I've got to say. It was pretty full on. So what I wanted to do was create a layout that I could do a little bit, come back to it, do a little bit, come back to it, to see if that was going to work for me. Now, I actually had a, sorry, my squeaky chair. I actually wanted to, I've been wanting to do this for a while. If you've been here for 5 minutes, you'll know that I quite often like to use up scraps or use up smaller paper pads, that sort of thing. And I haven't done one for a little bit, so I was kind of itching to do another one. So I thought this would be the perfect lead in to the next layout. Now, when I typically do a layout that sort of has this kind of not necessarily design, but when you're using little bits and pieces or strips or what do they call them? Branding strips, or your title codes, any of those sort of things. If you're cutting those up and using them, you could do this with, you don't even need to, you could use your scraps, you could create your own scraps, you could use some embossing powder and some stamps on some cardstock and then cut that into strips. You could just use some paint directly onto the cardstock. You could use some ink, you could use watercolor pencils. I mean, the list goes on. But I do have this particular, it's a 6x8 paper pad. It's the Splendid 6x8 paper pad by K.I.S S, and it is, I love it. I absolutely love it. There is actually not one piece in this collection that I don't like. I probably, if I had to really get down nitty gritty and say which ones wouldn't I ever buy, if I was to buy 12x12 sheets, the only one, if you can see the second strip set along, the orange, and it's got sort of like a half moon on it, that's probably the only one I wouldn't buy as a 12x12 sheet. All the others I would gladly buy and use. So, but what I quite often like to do with Paige Evans specifically, her collections, I like to buy the smaller paper pad, not necessarily a 6x6, but a 6x8. It gives you the option. I don't feel as bad if I cut them up, if I hack into them, if I cut them into strips, if I tear them. I don't know what it is. Are you like this? Let me know in the comments. Are you one of these scrappers that likes to, if it's a 12x12 sheet, you sort of feel bad if you just hack into it? I am that person. I love paper. I realize that, look, you can always buy more. It's only paper, as I say all the time. It's only paper. It's not the end of the world. You haven't, I won't say that. That's probably controversial. I nearly said something then that was going to probably get flagged by YouTube. I literally am getting stuck on it now, but because I really desperately want to say this particular thing and I can't say it. I know I shouldn't say it. So anyway, I cut 2 strips that were 3 inches wide, and you saw how I created the direction. The only bit of advice I would give you, see how you can see the end of that strip. I've got them laying down a little bit too far. Had I have actually taken 5 minutes at the very beginning of the process and registered the shortest, you sort of got to get the shortest strip you've got, and that one is the one that chooses the angle that you're going to put them all on. Because now I've got sections at the ends where there's no strip. So I don't mind. I worked around it. I've got my little scrap pile sitting right next to me, and it was fine. I had no issue with it. But if you're someone that drives you crackers, just mental note that. I wanted these to have a really, really big angle on them, like 30 degrees, something like that. And I absolutely love, see, you can just join it together, and I was totally fine with doing it like that. And because I use art glitter glue, it attaches on super quickly and it's not a problem. And it's not budging, it's not going anywhere. So I decided that originally I was just going to do those 2 strips. Then I thought to myself, no, I actually want to extend this a little bit further. I want these patterns to, I want to be able to put the patterns on. Did you see how I did it on the smaller one? So much easier. That way all my angles are the same. Because using all these patterns, the only bit of advice I would give you is, obviously, if it bothers you having your little ends not quite meeting, measure that. Second of all, to get all your angles the same, it doesn't mess with your head as much when you look at a 12 by 12 sheet of all these strips. Because I know some of you are probably thinking to yourself at the moment, oh, that is way too much pattern. I could not do that. Not a chance. Nope, not happening. And honestly, yeah, I'm like that sometimes too. I really am. Sometimes I can't do busy. I can't do crazy. I can't do wild patterns, you know. And honestly, when I do that, I usually reach for mixed media. Even though it's messy, or it can be super messy, but it's, the mixed media seems to, I don't know. I don't know how to explain it. The mixed media seems to be fine. Whereas if I do lots of paper pattern like this, sometimes my brain can't handle all the busyness of all these patterns. So see what I did there? I decided that I was going to cut these strips down even smaller. I know, stick with me. Trust the process, guys. Just trust the process. I know it is difficult sometimes. Now, you can see all those gold bits, nothing is matching to the section next to it. And I want it like that. That is actually done by design. If I wanted to line these all up, the layout would have taken me so much longer. And if you do something like that, all your mistakes will show in a heartbeat. Like, they really will. They'll stand out big time. Now, check out what I've done there. So I have just gone along, no rhyme nor reason. I've just cut them so they are not the same. So the 2 big sections, they're not cut at the same line. Like, I've made sure that each section is cut at a slightly different height. I didn't measure it, I just cut it. Now, this bit here is a waste of time, but you do see it in the end. But the problem I have is I went around the edge with the distress ink, right? Because I wanted to cover up that white edge. And then sitting it on the black cardstock, you think to yourself, oh, you can't even see it. Why are you wasting your time? But if I've done it to one, I have to do it to all of them, because otherwise they're not going to match and it's going to do my head in. So I go through the whole process. Already at this point, I've noticed that I need to put these onto a white cardstock mat, so they will stand out and pop off the page. And you can see there, you can see the black once I put it down on here. Now, the white border that I'm leaving on these, it is so tiny. I don't even think it's 1/16. I think it's like, and I don't know how to say this, so all my American friends, help me out. 1/32nd of an inch. Is that how you word it? I'm not sure. We're metric over here, but I do everything in inches, but I don't know how to say it properly. So 1/32. That's about how small the white edge is on all these pieces. Because obviously I don't want to trim them down to the point that I'm losing all my pretty color and stuff. And when I glue these down, again, there's no rhyme nor reason to it. There's no I didn't measure anything. I'm not a huge fan of measuring. I'm really not. If I can just get in and do it, and I'll be honest with you guys, I was doing these at 4 in the morning. I know. If anyone wants to send me a hammer so I can knock myself out and sleep past 4 a.m., that'd be great. But I usually get up with Taylor when she's going to work, and because when I wake up, my arthritis does not let me go back to sleep. So, unfortunately for me, I have this annoying habit. When I wake up, I have to do something. So I come into my craft room, which is excellent because it's nice and quiet. The dogs come in here with me and we just have a little bit of a crafty moment before I have to go off to work. And it is, I shouldn't say I have to go off to work, I get to go off to work because I am very much aware that having a job these days is a privilege. Not everyone has one, and I am extremely glad I've got one. Now, don't stress about the edges. See, it's just paper. When this goes into my album, is it going to be a perfect 12 by 12? No. Is it going to affect, this is Jen in these photos, is it going to bother Jen when she's flipping through her album when she's 40 and looking back at these photos going, oh, when was this? Like, when was that? You know, it's not going to bother her that there's a slight sliver and it's not quite perfect. You can see, it does bother me that there's that bigger gap down in the bottom left-hand corner, but it's all right. I then realized I cut my title and I decided to do one of these. If you've been here for 5 minutes, you will know that I love doing my titles on the Cricut. I love creating an offset with them and coming in with my Distress Oxide inks to ink them. Either when they're small like this, I just do 50-50. And I stick them all down onto the offset that I've created. This offset was 0.86. And as I'm putting these on here, it was about here I realized that that's not going to work. I keep the title, I keep all of this work, but I realized that I need a black border around it for it to stand off the page. It's getting lost in the colors. Obviously, I've chosen Oxide inks. What did I use? Wild Honey and Picked Raspberry. And it's fantastic having the colors that match, but you've got to, with every layout, and this is something that I actually had someone ask me about it on Saturday. The black, the reason I go to either black or white, and I think all scrapbookers have their go-to color. If you're doing, say, a wedding album, like my wedding album, there's no white in it. My wedding album is all, what did I use? I used silver, cranberry, French vanilla, and black. That's what I used in my album. So there's no white actually in it. You choose the colors that appeal to you to be your contrast. So if I used more blue, then not a problem. I could have gone ahead and done that. Now, yes, I know, I'm colouring it in with a pen. I had this sheet of cardstock that I had used for the rest of it, and it was still on my mat, so I just stuck it through the machine and figured I'll just use one of my pens. The pen that I used is actually, what's it called? It is called a Ecoline brush pen. It is so good. This actually came from Crafty Divas. It came in, I ordered some mixed media stuff, and there was a couple of, they had some kits, and Melissa's amazing. If you want anything, check them out. They're great. And they have these little, like they did packs, you know, they were like mixed media packs and stuff like that. Anyway, so I clicked on a couple of them just to sort of, it'll be a sample of something that I maybe have never tried before. And sure enough, these Ecoline pens were in there. And I'm really glad that I got them and tried them because they're really, really good, especially at making your edges black and things like that. They're fantastic. They're nice and juicy, and I really like them for that. So I just used the normal white and I coloured it in black. You can see the lines don't add up. I'm showing you there that I did some stitching, machine stitching on there as well, just to bring in a little bit more black. You can see white dots at the end of the stitching because I just put some glue on them rather than, I just put my finger in it, rather than pulling the threads through to the back. So that's my layout, guys. Don't forget, in the description below, you've got all my social links, Facebook, Instagram. That's where you'll find the pictures. I also have my Buy Me a Coffee if you'd like to support the channel. Alternatively, give me a like, a thumbs up, a comment. All that sort of stuff helps the channel out. And I will be back with you real soon with a competition for our 2K. Thanks, guys. Chat to you soon. Bye for now.